how else do I want to enrich my life? I've always been a big like champion for hobbies that
Mhm.
have nothing to do with with what you are doing in life, because I think it just really enriches the soul and keeps you not being drained when you like have one focus and you only do that one thing. And so I started watching Drag Race. At first I didn't think it was for me. I really was like, "Oh, that's awesome for them. Much love to those people." Like, I was like, that's not my jush, but I'm happy for them, you know? As I said on my intake form, it wasn't until I saw season 8 of Drag Race when Naomi Smalls walked in the room. She was the first one to walk into the room on season 8,
Mhm.
completely shifted it for me.
Welcome to Graphic Content, the podcast where we talk all things who, why, and the what the moments along the way. I'm your host, Gio, and what's on brand for me this week is binging old episodes of Sailor Moon to make me feel just that much better about the complete decay of the world around us. My guest today is Ari Gato, a Chicago based drag performer, singer, dancer, cabaret producer, manga enthusiast, and living proof that being a theater kid never really goes away. Ari is an Entertainer of the Year winner, a Roscoe staple, a Go tournament competitor, and someone who somehow balances glamour, nerddom, and emotional honesty without combusting. Welcome to Graphic Content, Ari.
Hello, thank you for having me. Oh my god, what an intro. I love it. I love it.
Listen, with all the information, I know that the intake form is long, as I've been told by guests in the past, but I'm really trying to get like a 360 understanding of what it is that the individual I'm interviewing is like, where they are at their in their life, and like what it is that is important to them that got them to where they are. The whole premise of this is to talk to you about why you do what you do and like the things that drive you, because in today's world it's very hard to let's say feel excited about anything. Like, I'm gonna be honest. And so when
Yeah.
people are right, and when people are jazzed about things, like that to me is like very important.
Yeah, no, it was super thorough, and I felt like, "Oh my god," like, I've never even thought about myself in this way, like, it made me think about the things that I do and the way that I exist in the world outside of, like, what I do for a living, so
Uh-huh.
it was really helpful. I loved it, actually.
Somebody told me once years ago, where it was like the thing how you see yourself doesn't really matter. Like, in the sense of like, you need to believe in yourself and you need to be, your own biggest cheerleader. But at the end of the day, it's like other people can perceive you completely differently. Like, you're in it, so you're like the struggle
Totally.
is there, like the work and all of that, all the back end stuff. But then on the outside, like example, I think I connected with you on Instagram in like 2020. I think it was like during
Yeah.
pandemic times, and for me, like, I mean, I'm a big homo, so I love Queens, I love that whole world. And so for me to see somebody who's just like owning their doing, and you have so much to you. You're like not just a drag performer. And so there's, to me, that 360, like all the different facets, like that's the shit that just like gets me going.
Yeah, no, I love it. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Okay, I do have to say, I tell me if I can't do this and I will stop. I have so many liquids next to me that I'm going to drink. Is that okay to drink? Okay, a
Oh,
man after my
yeah.
own heart.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm like the amount of people, they're like, "Oh, is that Pepsi or Coke?" I'm like, "No, this is like I always anytime anyone sees this, it's a nice coffee."
You're so gay guy. I love it.
100%. It's like winter. Although I just got back from Thailand, and
Shut up. Oh my god.
it was amazing. I had such a great time. But we were going to this little restaurant that was near where we were staying.
Mhm.
And the owners there, they had this like coconut americano. So I'm in the heat, so I'm like, yes, something that I relates me to home.
Yeah.
And they would put coconut water in like an americano. And so now, since we got back, like we like the day after we got back, we went grocery shopping, and I'm like, I'm getting coconut water and I'm gonna mix it with my iced coffee. I'm like,
Absolutely.
this, it's like the one thing I'm like, oh, like back to reality. I'm not ready.
You get a little bring a little piece of Thailand back home with you. Was it your
100%.
first time going to Thailand?
I'd never been before. Have you been to Asia? Oh, wait, you have?
No.
No,
No, I have not. Just virtually.
virtually. Because I was like I
You
was
know.
wondering about yeah. We I love it. Are you based from Chicago originally?
I actually grew up in Houston, Texas. Well, like the suburbs of Houston, Texas.
Mhm.
But I've lived here for 12 years now. So Chicago is definitely home for me.
100.
I like really have built like my foundation as a person, let alone an artist here. So yeah, very Chicago based. Love everything about Chicago. Wouldn't change it for the world.
Mhm. And so when did you start doing drag?
What's funny is I just hit my 8 years in drag in November,
Congratulations.
November 28th. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I started doing it right after I finished college. I was in this crazy relationship and I got out of it and was like, I was looking for other outlets. I had just graduated from musical theater school. So it was like, I was working in the theater and I was like, how else do I want to enrich my life? I've always been a big like champion for hobbies that
Mhm.
have nothing to do with with what you are doing in life because I think it just really enriches the soul and keeps you not being drained when you like have one focus and you only do that one thing. And so I started watching Drag Race. At first I didn't think it was for me. I really was like, "Oh, that's awesome for them. Much love to those people." Like I was like, that's not my jush, but I'm happy for them. As I said on my intake form, it wasn't until I saw season 8 of Drag Race when Naomi Smalls walked in the room. She was the first one to walk into the room on season 8,
Mhm.
completely shifted it for me. To me, I can't even describe how it felt to see her walk in the room because I had never seen myself represented on television so well. I mean, she looked just like me. Her demeanor was so similar to how I was at the time. Like she was very soft spoken, very awkward, but like super confident in like what she had to present. And there were so many things that like I had seen in myself as unattractive qualities for
Mhm.
so long. And then I saw her be on TV being celebrated for that. And I was like, wait, I need to get a wig. Like
Yeah.
I was like, immediately I need to jump into the drag because if she can do it, so can I. And it's so funny now because I've been doing drag so long. There's a period of time after Drag Race where Naomi lived here in Chicago. We've met, we've chatted, we are friends now. And it's so funny because every time I see her, I'm like, I just want you to know the
Mhm.
only reason that I'm here is because of you. And she's like,
Mhm.
hey, it's actually not fun anymore that you do that. Like, we're friends. Like,
Yes.
it's chill. Like, thank you, but like, we're good. Like, I love you. Thank you. And so it's like, it still takes so much for me to like calm down about it because she is the reason that I have been able to build a life for myself, you know?
Mhm.
And like can truly all stems back to her. So I owe so much to Naomi Smalls and of course in general the drag race world. Do I watch it anymore at all now? No, but but again, I'm happy for those girls. Much love to those girls on that TV show. But I do. 8 years ago, I was like, "This is the time," and it was
Mhm.
all because of Naomi.
I don't wanna take away from what you just said because, there's obviously so much validity in what you're saying, but at the same time, like, it's because of her, but, like, you did the work. Like, you might have got the spark from her, but, like, you got yourself here, right?
I definitely did. I put in a lot of work, but it was also like, when I was in musical theater school. Sorry, I'm just gonna go on a tangent. I
The
apologize.
what is this for? We're here to talk. Please do.
When I was in musical theater school, at the time I identified as a man. So I was like the one male dancer in my class, in my department. I was a dancer. And I would go to auditions outside of the school and I would dance circles around these people. I mean, these other guys in these men dance calls they were poo poo caca. Like it was bad. Like they were bad. They were bad dancers, and I'm telling you, like, sometimes literally dancing circles around people,
Yeah.
and I would never get called back. I would never get kept. I would never be asked to sing, and I was perplexed. I was like, "There is no way that they're not asking me
Mhm.
to stay, to read. I dance so much better than everybody else." And I, like, quickly realized that it was like they were looking for buff male physiques
Yeah.
over any kind of technique or talent or precision, like, and it was so disheartening to me when I was a young actor because I started working in Chicago theater when I was the summer after my freshman year of college. I was like, I want to get out there. I want to get some work for my resume. I want to start a name for myself. So I went out there immediately and was like, I
Mhm.
was still in school, learning all these things in school, and then also doing shows outside of school, really putting my talent to the test, seeing what real life auditions were like, seeing what real life processes were like, and trying to apply myself in both worlds. And I just noticed there was this disconnect when I was doing dance calls in real life to how it was in school. And I was like, wow, I'm never going to get cast for dancing the way that I do. And it was crushing. It was crushing because it felt like this whole thing that I'm training
Yeah.
for, actively in this moment training for, I was never going to get because people didn't see me the way that they wanted me to be. And it was really sad. It was really like, I was very confused about what I wanted to do. And when I started watching Drag Race, I was like, oh, I can dance like a girl and be celebrated. Like, it was truly like, it was one of those things where it's like, oh, like everything that I've been doing is actually fine and actually really cool. And there's a whole world of people who like really, really enjoy this kind of art. And I have that in me. So why don't I just start doing it? And it was like,
Mhm.
immediately the
Mhm.
response was like, oh my god, like you're such a good dancer, you're so cool, like, and it was a lot of work for sure, but it was also a lot of the stuff that I was already training for in college. Like, I was like, the being able to emote through a song, the dance ability, the flexibility, all that stuff that I've incorporated into my drag is stuff I was learning
Mhm.
in college. And I just happened to run into drag and be like, oh, this is the perfect intersection where I can be my own director, I can be my own costume designer, my own wig designer, and my own makeup artist, and also the writer and performer of my own piece. When I started drag, I was very much about
Mhm.
I am going to make everything that I do a production. And now I'm an old lady, so I can't do that anymore.
So you started drag and you won Crash Landing in 2019, which really like put you out there in Chicago. And so like what shifted for you after that moment happened, like within the Chicago scene?
What shifted for me was the way that people kind of saw my drag. I say this all the time, but I competed in this show called Roscoe's Drag Race, which has been around for we're entering our 26th year now. I host it now. I've been hosting it for the past 5 years, which is super crazy because I never thought I would. Because I competed in it
Mhm.
every single Tuesday for 2 years straight. And, it was just a trial and error of throwing everything at the wall, seeing what stuck with my performance style. I did everything. I was like, maybe I'm a ballad girl, maybe I'm a hyper pop diva, maybe I'm just musical theater. I tried every single thing that I could doing that every week. And then when I went back to Crash Landing in 2019, I was able to bring what I thought was a good product for Ari. Like, I was like, this is who Ari is. And winning the competition got me people actually seeing that product and being like, actually, yeah, like now we get it. And that makes a lot of sense. And we want it. But it took a lot of trial and error to get there. And after Crash Landing, I was able to get bookings on bigger stages. I was able to work the Saturday night shows at Berlin, and then people at Charlie's were trying to reach out to me. And then I was getting Black Girl Magic over at Roscoe's. And it was all because I had won that little competition. And that was the one at the time. That was the big one that was like,
Mhm.
hey, if you want to break into the scene, this is how you do it. You win this competition. and then everybody will see you, everybody will book you. And for me, it was true. And we actually had a whole drag reckoning in 2020 where we really kind of clarified what we wanted as a community to be allowed and what was not to be allowed. And some people had to go for that to happen. Other people were shifted, everything shifted. And after 2020, when we were coming back to the bars in like late 2021, early 2022, I ended up hosting Crash Landing for like a whole year. I had never thought that I was going to do that either. So it was like, but it was because of all that foundational stuff after I won that like built my career up to this thing where everybody was like, we really love her, we really trust her, and she can do anything. And I was like,
Mhm.
thank God, because now I have the career that I have today,
Mhm.
and it all really stemmed from winning that competition in 2019.
But I really think like what you're saying, and truly like as a creative, like I don't do what you do. We're not in the same industries, but at the same time, like when you start to tap into the things that make the most sense for you, and you really like step into it, like you're like, okay, finally I'm going to do what I want, present how I want to present. You're a multi hyphenate, as I like to say, and you're like, let me do all these things that I know that I'm good at, and presenting it in a way that is authentic to you. That's the thing that really connects you to people. It makes sense for what you're doing in your path, that you have that connection with people, because you're like, okay, I'm just gonna present me.
Totally. And like I said, it took a long time to get there to understand what me was, especially because in drag,
Hmm.
there's you as the person, but there's also you as the drag character. And for a long time, and I think even still today, I do struggle to see the separation a little bit. In drag, Ari is a 22-year-old perpetually and like her birthday is on Tuesday or anytime she has a mic in her hand, like and that's like that's her thing and she has quips and things that she uses that like me out of drag would never do or say, out of drag I'm 30 years old and like life is very different. I do lots of other things that have nothing to do with drag, but that it really enrich what I think. I think it enriches what I do in drag. All of my hobbies and all the things that I like to do um, outside of it. But yeah, it is like one of those things where it's like what works for me as a person doesn't always work for Ari as the drag queen, but I think that they
Hmm.
oftentimes enhance each other. And I think a deep understanding of who you are is really, really beneficial to anything that you're doing creatively, and I think the discovery of that is also really helpful in its creativity because I don't think that you have to know yourself completely to be a creative, but you have to be willing to discover or be willing to go on the journey to discover who you really are. And I think
Hmm.
that's really endearing too.
Listen, I don't think we ever really fully understand ourselves. I think the whole point of our life is to consistently be discovering new parts of ourselves, especially because the more that we live, you're gonna change. Like every 5 years, you're a different person. Like you're still the core of who you are, but you've kind of shifted a little bit. And so then you're like rediscovering, like, who am I now? Who am I now? At you're like, oh, I'm 30, but to me, I'm like, almost 40, and I'm at this point now where I'm like, okay, like, I don't think I need to only present Geo the designer when it comes to like who I am. Like I'm like, I have so
Mhm.
many interests. Like I'm a nerd at heart. I love to draw, I love to paint. I have all these other things that, create the, like I said before, the 360 version of Geo. But why put those to the back because, oh, it doesn't fit in, me as as somebody who has my own business, and who, like, and by business I mean like I'm a creative, but as a creative it's like I have so many aspects to myself. Why should I not put that out there? Because let's be real, we live in the world where we do put it out there, like that's social media, etc. But that's how we work, that's how we continue to work. And so I relate 100% to what you're saying. It's like I'm not trying to like dilute parts of myself anymore in the way that I would have, even 5 years ago. And so it resonates with me what you're saying to a T, because I'm like, kid, who am I trying to impress? I'm like, I like me, you like yourself. What the who the gives a shit? Like literally this morning before I hopped on, and then we'll move on. But I was because I'm posting like rewind posts at the moment. Right now we're end of December when we're filming, And so like in between seasons, and I was like, "Ooh, I got another hate comment on YouTube." And a part of me is like, I kind of like it because I'm like, like these people are, or bots or whatever, are so dumb. But I'm like, feed the algorithm, like feed my, like I don't give a shit. Like I don't feel like somebody posting about the stuff that I'm doing is gonna like throw me off, because I'm like, it's someone with a faceless profile. Like if you're a bit that much of a loser to go on and like talk to somebody, I'm like, go off, sis. Like I don't care. You know what I mean? I'm like, I'm pretty solid in myself now with who I am and going on that life path, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
like, you know what? Thank you for the engagement. What happens, I think, a lot for me is the in-person kind of response to me is sometimes a little bit not nice. And I'm like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea. I know who I am and I like who I am, and everybody else in this bar likes who I am. If you don't like what I'm giving, then you can leave, or you can tell my
Hmm.
boss. I don't care. It's a very like I'm very sure about what I present and that it is good and that people like it, and so there has been a little bit. So as you know, I've started a YouTube channel where I talk about basically just
Hmm.
manga. And there have been some light teasing from people being like, "Wow, I've never seen someone so dedicated to making content no one's gonna watch." And it's like that to me, it doesn't affect me in any way because I'm like, yeah, I really am
Good.
dedicated to it and I love it. I think that like
Hmm.
me being able to just kind of, or anyone really being able to just kind of really love what they do regardless of like what anybody says about it is like, as long as it's not hurting others, like, baby, just have a ball, do what you want to do. Like, life is so short,
Yeah.
you can't not do the things that you want to do.
100%. So on that note about creating content, so a little while ago you went viral online. And so when that video went out, like how did that shape how you see yourself and like the potential? Because that, like, sometimes that can shift, that gets a lot of eyes on you. And so how did that shift for you, whether it's for better or for worse?
Wow. Well, I've gone viral a couple of times. um, and each time it was a different thing for a different reason. You know, there the first time that I went viral was I did this very silly Beyonce number where I basically just did the intro to Crazy in Love, but it never got past the intro. And it was this I was just kind of doing this walking bit, like the beginning of the Crazy in Love music video by Beyonce. It's just Beyonce walking, like strutting down this like alleyway or something, and I was just trying to recreate that moment, but it just never stopped. Exactly that. And I didn't think anything of it. It was truly like one of those brain dead moments where I was like going to the club and I was like, I have no ideas, but I'm booked for this show and I need to make something happen. And so I made the mix in the car, sent it while I was on the way, and then got in the club and did it. And I didn't think it was gonna do anything. And then it went viral on, like, I think it was mainly like a Facebook thing, which like dates me just a little bit. But um I after it went viral, I had fun. I had my fun with it, but I let it go. And then years pass, and because that was before the pandemic. And then after the kind
Hmm.
of quarantine stage of the pandemic, I started hosting Roscoe's Drag Race. And about like a year or two in, we had Pangina Heels come and like perform with us on a Tuesday. And she is the host of Drag Race Thailand. And she's an amazing queen who I followed for years. I mean, before all the Drag Race stuff, I was like, this girl is the tea. She's everything to me. And so I've always been a lifelong fan.
Hmm.
And then I was so nervous because I knew she was going to be there that Tuesday. And I was like, oh my God, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, I'm super nervous to meet her. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I get really anxious and I'm like, I don't know how to deal with people. Clearly, I told that Naomi story earlier. Like, that's how I am. Like, I'm just like, I get overwhelmed with emotion. I don't really know how to speak to people normally. And so I was kind of freaking out. And then I go upstairs, and before I can even say anything, she goes, oh, you're Ari Gato. Oh my God, I'm a big fan. And she screams this out of her lungs. She's going crazy.
Dead.
And she's like, your video, your Beyonce Crazy in Love video is everything in Thailand. She was like, all the Thailand girls, all of the Thai girls, we love that video. We like anytime that song comes on, we all just stop and we do the Ari Gato. Like we all just start walking. Like, and she was telling me, again, I have not said a word yet. I was just like, hi. And she's going off. She's like, "You have no idea. You changed comedy drag for us in Thailand." She was like, "The comedy drag queens, they do that number, or they do numbers that are clearly inspired by that number." And like it just shifted things for us. Like we love it so much, and I'm such a big fan. And I was like, there is no way this is happening to me right now. Like, and to think that I was even a small
Mhm.
part of like drag culture or the change, the shift in comedy drag culture, I never thought that I would do that. And it was so funny because then we do the show and she comes on stage and we give her the mic and she's like, we just have to say, she's like, I have to say to y'all don't understand. This girl's a legend. She's an icon in Thailand. Like Ari Gato is the girl. Like, she was like, Ari, can we do it? Can we do the
Yes.
walk together, please? And I was like, sure. Like, thank you, Pangina Heels, one of the most successful drag queens of our era. Like, sure, why not? Let's do it together. My stupid little bit. And so it's like, it was just this like crazy surreal thing that happened to me that was like, I never in a million years thought I would make a difference or like make a change in any way to like this long-standing drag form. But to Pangina Heels and the girls in Thailand, I kind
Mhm.
of did. And it was something I did not expect, but something that I really treasure. And a few other times, I mean, one time I was in the news because Dennis Rodman came to my drag show and gave me $100. I was also the first drag queen to ever perform Break My Soul by Beyonce a mere 10 minutes after it was released. And that went viral. And I was in the news for that. And it was like, I've done a bunch of
That's
random things that
crazy.
it's like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And all of them have just like, all they've done is just like cast my net a little wider. And it's like, people are down for the goof, they're down to clown. And I'm just happy about that. Happy to be a part of making
Mhm.
people laugh and smile on the internet.
Mhm. Honestly, that is the stuff that I love. Like, you're like, "Oh, this stupid little bit," or like, "I'm just gonna, like, reimagine just this opening sequence of the song and just, like, kind of do it on a loop." That, to me, is the stuff and, like, in my opinion, who cares, right? But I just gotta say, like, that is what I love about drag specifically is, like, let's make fun of life, you know what I mean? Like, it's not all like, yes, there's room for everybody and there's room for every approach, but for me personally, I'm like, I love that. I love that when there's like that like left of center thinking of how do I take something that is, just like a very popular song, but like twist it a little bit. And that's what connects with people because it's like, oh, you interpret it in a way that was not expected. And that's I don't know. To me, that's the stuff that I'm like, please keep doing that. That's why people are connecting with what you're doing.
Totally. Thank you.
After that, what did you get any response like post that situation when you interacted with her or like any of the when you say like the Thailand girls like knew who you were, like did you get anything online where you saw like a bit of an influx?
Yeah, no, definitely. I definitely got a bunch of new followers, which was really fun. And just being able to and just like random invitations to be like, girl, you need to come out here. Like, we'll book you. Like, come and perform. Just those little opportunities like that I haven't taken advantage of yet. But, just knowing that like people outside of Chicago know who I am is like so crazy because I'm just a silly girl in Chicago trying to make people laugh. And the fact that it's reached anybody, outside of here is really so cool. And one day I'm gonna go and I'm gonna be like, "Do y'all remember me?" And they're gonna be like, "Literally no," but it'll be it'll be something that I will remember forever.
Listen, you would fit in so well because so like I said, I just got back from a trip there and we went to I think Stranger Bar. We went multiple nights because it was just and there's so many options on the strip, but the queens there were next level. Like the level of talent, the irreverence. They were just it reminded me of going to drag bars like 20 years ago or maybe like
Mm.
15 like years ago where it's just that like let's all have a good time, let's all poke fun at each other, let's all, you know, not take things too seriously. And it was just that energy every queen that went on, every queen who grabbed the mic, it was just funny, funny, funny. And to me, that I was like, so I can see that being like the perfect fit for you.
Yeah, I need to go. I need to go to Thailand right now.
Honestly. So we talked a lot about your drag career and, you know, the different stages of the earlier years. But like for you, at one point, did you say like, okay, you know, this drag thing is not just something that you do, but it's like, okay, this is like who I'm becoming as an artist in like this next phase of my career.
I think the pandemic really kind of shifted things because pre-pandemic, I was working a job. I had been working at Urban Outfitters for like 2.5 years, and right before January 2020, I was like, I'm going to quit my job because I don't want to do it anymore. And I think I'm just going to really lean into this drag thing. And I thought, I'm getting enough bookings as it is to be able to pay for everything. If I just keep working really hard at it, it will become something that is viable.
Mm,
And and I had a lot of ambition at the time, but I had no consistent gigs yet. It was just picking up things here and there every week where I had 5 or 6 shows a week, but they were in flux. So nothing was that I did it weekly, or nothing was that I did it every other week, or even, so it was very hit or miss, and I didn't really know what the future was going to hold. And then obviously in March of that year, everything shut down, and I had to be like, okay, you have to find a way to survive. And is drag going to be that thing, or what? Like, what are you going to do? And especially as someone who the acting industry was on pause, the like everything about the theater industry was
right.
not happening either. So it was like a big to do of like, are you going to go back to working like a regular normal person job, or are you going to try to commit to the drag? And right when things started to open up again, getting the job at Roscoe's for Roscoe's Drag Race on Tuesdays, that is what was like, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. And like really commit to it, because this is a weekly
Mhm.
gig. This can really be some really, really strong stability for you. And if you can find it here, you can find it other places, right? And if you continue to show your work here as like someone who is respectable and who is good at their job and responsible, then the sky's the limit, and anybody will have you. And so it really took getting that job at Roscoe's. I'm so thankful for it, and it's so much fun even to this day. I host with a good friend, a good sister of mine, Caramel Deville, who is one of my favorite drag queens as well. And having that connection with her, learning so much from her, us learning from each other, has been really rewarding and really opened so many doors to the accessibility of doing drag and making it your career. Because without that stability, I wouldn't have learned how to be an off the cuff, ready to go drag queen. I wouldn't have learned to be somebody who is super dependable when it comes to any situation. There's so much that happens on a Tuesday where we have to like come up with solutions on the spot, because there's hijinks galore there. There so many things happen with young drag queens trying to come in, and drag performers of all kinds trying to come in and do whatever they want, and we have to just problem solve. And that has made me such a better performer and such a better host, and I'm able to bring that other places now because I had that stability, and that has really skyrocketed everything that I do. I mean, it has brought me so much clarity in what I want to do as a performer and as a host and a drag MC. It's great.
Mhm. When we first touched base, you kind of mentioned that, you know, you started out singing in a younger time in your life, and then you stopped for a bit, and now you're bringing it back and you've reincorporated it into your act as Ari versus before. What brought you to that, and what got you to be like, okay, maybe I'm gonna pull this out of the tickle trunk, let's say?
The tickle trunk. That's good. That's good. I'm gonna take that. Yeah, when I was a kid, I was obsessed with American Idol, like, that was everything to me at the time, and I was like, "That is what I wanna do, I wanna sing, I wanna be on TV, I wanna be a star," you know? I've always thought I was meant to be a star, like, that has just always been a consistent thought since I was a kid, and I knew that, like, if I could escape my circumstances, I would be a star, and, like, when I got to middle school, I was so afraid of being queer that I, like, thought anything that made me queer, I wanted to get rid of. And so I stopped singing because I thought it was too
Mhm.
queer. Like I was like, I don't want to sing anymore. That's not for me. I went like full emo goth kind of and was like, this is the only way that I can queer myself from others, but still be deemed maybe acceptable by straight people because they don't really understand the emo or scene communities. And so I was able
Mhm.
to kind of blend in and fly under the radar. Then when I got back to the high school, I started singing a little bit in musicals and stuff, but it wasn't really until I went to college that I started to take voice lessons, because I went to school for musical theater stupidly. I had no reason to do that, but I did it and I started taking voice lessons and nothing was going well. I mean, musical theater
Mhm.
in college is such a competitive space because it's a bunch of people. Well, where I went to school, it was a bunch of people who've been singing for their entire lives, a bunch of people who have been taking voice lessons since they were 3, dance
Right.
lessons since they were 2. Like, it's a bunch of people who take what they do very, very seriously and have been for a long time, and I was just kind of this, like, very green kind of performer who, like, just really liked musicals, and singing became less fun because you're constantly under this insane amount of scrutiny about your voice and it not sounding like this Broadway star's voice or, this opera star's voice.
Mm.
And it became this like competition with others and also myself to sound a certain way. And I just always felt uncomfortable singing after that. And so then I stopped again kind of after college and was like, I'm going to focus
Mm.
on drag. I'm not going to sing anymore. That was really stressful and I don't want to bring stress back into my life. But about 2 years into hosting Drag Race on Tuesdays, there was a spot opening up. They were bringing back Monday night karaoke at Roscoe's and I was like, well, I need another job. Like, I want that. I want more consistency. I would love a Monday gig, and I know how
Mhm.
to sing and I can't, who knows what could happen. So I asked them for the position. They gave it to me and it took a really long time to like feel comfortable in that space just because singing to me had so many different kinds of trauma responses just from college and from before and singing was so
Mhm.
scary. And so it took a while for me to adjust to it, but after a while I remembered that I like singing not because I sound good, but because it's fun. It's really fun. Singing should be fun,
Yeah.
especially in a karaoke setting. Singing should be very fun. And it took like a year for me to
Yes.
really understand that. And then I was like, oh, it doesn't matter how I sound or if it's technically perfect. As long as I'm up there having fun and having people have fun with me, that is really what I'm here for. When that shifted for me, it opened up a whole new world of like, oh my God, wait, singing is the best thing ever. And I remembered, oh, I've always wanted to do this. Like, this is always what I've wanted to do. And, I kind of looked at my drag career and I was like, people really love listening to me talk about stories of my life. And, I'm able to turn something really depressing into something very funny. And I was like, where's a venue that I could do that while also being able to sing whatever I want and forcing people to hear me sing? Because then it became so fun that I was like, no, you need to hear me even if I'm bad because it's hilarious. And so
Yes.
I kind of remembered that like the art of the cabaret even existed and was like, wait, I could make my own shows where all I do is tell stories and sing. They don't even have to be connected. I could just sing whatever I want and then tell whatever story I want. And and I can invite people and people can come and
Mhm.
enjoy it and have a great time. And I was like, wait, I want to be a cabaret star. I want to bring that back. Because back in the day, drag queens were cabaret stars, and that was kind of like they just held court,
Yes.
sang, lip sync, whatever they wanted to, and people just sat there and watched and enjoyed it. And I was so enamored by that idea of bringing that back and being like, yeah, there aren't many of us, especially in Chicago, that kind of drag as a cabaret hostess is kind of gone. And I was like, I want to kind of single handedly bring that back. And so I decided to do that.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really fun. We just had a show at the understudy coffee and books up in Andersonville. I just had my show there, my Christmas show. Ari Gato attempts to steal Christmas there on the 20th of December. And it was so much fun. We were packed out, and I had so many special guests who come and sing with me, and everyone had such a great time. And it was like that community bonding over just like having a drink and listening to stories and asking questions with the audience and bantering, like that kind of environment I just love to foster. And I actually just got approved for a residency there at the understudy where I'll be doing quarterly cabarets there for the next year. So this was kind of my first one. And now I'll be there 3 more times this year. I'm super excited to plan them all. We have one coming up in March, then in June, and then in September, and then we're back at the December show. So I'm I'm super excited to just keep fostering this spot where people can come and enjoy music and enjoy live singing without the pressure of being like, "Hey, this is going to be really good. This is a serious concert." Like it's like, no, we're all chilling, we're all having a good time.
Yes.
And when I first brought the cabarets to that space, sorry to ramble, but when I first brought the cabarets to that space, I did it under the show called Arigato Attempts to Share the Spotlight, which is basically a play on my character being annoying and a play on my character being absolutely obnoxious and being like, I don't want to share the spotlight, but I'll do my very best. And I was bringing in guests not only from the drag world but the theater world to come in and sing and do their little big one, because I find a lot of the drag people in Chicago and beyond were musical theater people, and like people who like grew up singing either
Mhm.
in their churches or in their plays, doing all that stuff. And I was like, you guys don't always get the chance to showcase that talent. And I think as drag performers, we have so many hidden talents that we never get to do. And I was like, why
Yes.
not bring those drags who like have that into my space and allow them to just express that. And again, if it's perfect or not, who cares? You just got to do it, and get to flex that muscle. I think that's so fun and important. And again, I will say time and time again, you need a hobby, you need something that like you can do that isn't just that main thing that you do. And allowing those people to like get into music
Mhm.
rehearsals and a little voice lesson kind of, moment in those rehearsals and get that muscle working again, to find that passion for that again, I think is so fun. And I'm happy to be able to curate that. The Arigato Attempt series is going to be there. We just attempted to steal Christmas. It's going to be great. I think our next show in March is probably going to be Arigato Attempts to do Mariah Carey, which will be really fun because I love Mariah Carey. So yeah, just trying to build back the cabaret, especially as a drag act, and it's really changing my life. And it really is, I think, a major direction in where I want to go for the future.
I love everything you're saying, and I think the one word that I'm gonna pull out of everything you just said that you've repeated was the word fun. I think that that is something that a lot of people skip over, especially nowadays, which is surprising. It's surprising, but it's not surprising, where it's like the world is already so at this point, there's so much negativity, there's so much bad going on. We need to harness what it is to have fun. And I truly believe, like, when I see people out and about, and I'm like, you go to a party or you go to an event or whatever, and you see people and they're just like not, especially you know how the gays are. Like there's just that like I'm not that girl. Like I'm like, we're out. Like let's have a good time. Like let's enjoy. And I'm not afraid to like show that. Like I'll dance. Like I don't drink, but I'm like I can dance. I can have a good time and not be hammered. And to see, and it makes me feel like at first when I was younger, I'd be like, you reserved because you're like I don't want to like show. because like everyone's so cool, everyone's so this and that. And I'm like, that, like, who cares? I don't care if I look like a goof. Like, and to me, you doing this is gonna inspire people to just like just be irreverent, have fun. Like that. What else are we here for? You know?
Exactly. That's the goal. That's the goal. I mean, truly, after the show on December 20th, everyone was coming up to me just like there was a line of people just being like, that was so much fun. We had such a great time. And like it was the best. Like you sounded great. I watched a single video of myself. I watched every video that people posted and I was like, I sound horrible in this clip. Like that was actually so bad. But the vibe in the room that I was creating was so fun that it didn't matter. Like I was like, I sound so bad. I messed up on that. I did that run wrong. Like, and it was like, who cares? Like, everyone in that room, all 80 people who showed up had the best time. And that's all that you can do. Is like, that's all I want to do is to be able to create that in kind of environment. And
Hmm.
I don't drink either. And I've always felt like when you're at a club when you're out, being aloof is so not worth it because like it's so not worth it because truly I feel like I can make
No.
any situation into a fun one. Like if the DJ's music is bad, let's make fun of it and dance crazy.
Hmm.
Like I don't know, like we can make something fun,
Yes.
you know? I think just people are especially queer people I think who have spent their whole lives trying to fit in and trying to self-aggrandize themselves to protect
100.
themselves. I think that there's a fear of being whimsical. I think there's a fear of that in our community. And I'm like, maybe we got to bring the whimsy back. We got to have fun. We got to be camp because like we can turn any
Hmm.
situation into a good one. I mean, like you said, the world is really grim.
Yes.
Any sliver of fun that we can bring into it is exactly what I am trying to create.
Hold on to it. This is why I asked you on here. I'm like, this person understands we have a passion, we go for it, we do these things that, build us up for ourselves. We really want to like show off our talents, show off the things that spark joy in our lives, as cheesy as that saying is at this point, but it's true. And it's like this whole platform that you're building is something that, as somebody who's not in your industry but as somebody who's trying to align themselves in a way that makes sense with their output in the world, I love it, and I really relate to what you're doing. And so at this point, you've been doing drag for 8 years in Chicago, and you've described yourself as one of the most like decorated queens in Chicago, which is factual. It's not a cocky statement. And so, like, what is it that people, you're talking about the whole process of where you've gotten and all that. Like, what don't people see that's behind all of the awards and the titles and all of that?
I think I'm pretty transparent. I think they kind of see it all, unfortunately. I think I should be a little more reserved. But, I'm at the root of it, I'm kind of just like small town girl who's like I think that the one thing that like I think has always carried me through is this fight against what I've always felt about myself, which is that like I feel like I have my entire life been unfortunately mediocre at everything that I've ever tried to do. Like I have always felt like I could do everything, but I was just going to be fine at it. And I think like what propels me forward is trying to fight that and be like, I'm going to be excellent at something. I don't know what yet, so I'm gonna try everything, but I'm going to be excellent at something. And I think like drag
Hmm.
acting was like kind of the first thing that I was like, I'm gonna be excellent at this. And I am a really good actor. But drag was where I really got a wide audience to see, oh, this queen is really good at what she does. Like is it what Pangina Heels does? Is it what RuPaul does? No, but what she does, she is really excellent at. And so I think like that's why like kind of like that main thing that I've always tried to fight my whole life is like I need to be good at something. Even though I'm fine at a lot of things, I want to be excellent at something. And drag was kind of that thing where I'm like, this is the first avenue where I felt I've excelled. I've really excelled. And
Yeah.
now I'm like trying to see what the next thing is that I can excel at.
Yeah, but this is the thing though, is that you're like, oh, the acting, the singing, all these different, sorry, the Italian is popping out. Like the acting, the singing, like there's all these different things that you're like, oh, mediocre, but not really, because you're collecting all of these different facets to who you are, and then now you're putting it into play in an arena through drag that makes more sense, right? Because you're like, maybe before it wasn't hitting, but now you're like, oh, this thing that maybe I wasn't amazing at 10 years ago, you're like, actually it's still a part of me, and I can accelerate it in a way that makes more sense now that I'm like be able to focus on or define in a more clear way for you, right? Like, there's so many things I look back on. I'm like, oh, I've tried everything under the sun. I'm like, once again, I'm similar to you, like the hobbies, the things. I'm like, let me try podcasting, let me try design, let me try illustration, like let me do all these things that originally my company when I started, it was a clothing company. I don't like, you know what I mean? It's like I tried it, it
Oh,
didn't work
wow.
out, but it was something that I was like, I wanted to do. And so now, you have all of these, I have all these things where I'm like, nothing was a waste of time. That's basically what I'm trying to say in all this, right? Nothing is a waste of time because as we get older, we're like, okay, I can leave certain things behind. I can bring back things that I haven't touched on in a while that maybe make more sense now in my life. And so, the path that we go on is like it's for a reason, right? In the early years, you're like, I don't know, and then 15 years later, 15 years later, you're like, this is why I went through that time in my life.
Totally. And I think that plays a part in, what I'm doing now with like my YouTube channel. It's like I've been collecting manga since I was 9 years old. Some of my book I have now over 1,300 volumes of manga in my apartment, which is crazy and no one should live like this. But I do because I love it so much and it was one of those things that I kind of brought back for myself from my childhood that was like I really loved this
Hmm.
thing and I really would love to share that thing with the world and with as many people as I can reach. Yeah, I went away from it for a while, but it wasn't a waste of time because now it's a part of my platform. Everyone already knew me as the cosplay anime
Hmm.
queen of Chicago. And now they kind of get a deeper look into what inspired all of that, which is all of this manga. I mean, is it a waste of money? There's who's to say? I have spent a lot of money on these things, but I love it so much. And being able to start my YouTube channel and be like, hey, even as simple as just, hey, this is what I got this week. Like, do you like it? Like that, even that small bit of outreach has been
Hmm.
so beneficial to me. Getting anybody's eyes on it and having them respond to it in any way. There are people who follow my YouTube who don't know me from doing Chicago drag or anything, and they're like, "Oh, this is really a cool haul. I really liked this." And it's like, "Oh, this is that piece. This is that piece from that other thing that I didn't know was going to ever come back, and now is fulfilling me in such an awesome way." So it's really what you say is,
Hmm.
is correct. There's nothing is a waste of time. It all comes back and enriches you in some way if you allow it to. And being able
Hmm.
to invest in my manga collection and in sharing it has really, really brought a lot of joy to my life. And I wouldn't change it
Hmm.
for the world.
I always find the things that we love in younger years or the things that we connect with. Like, okay, example, I love Sailor Moon. I talked about it already. This is a find I got in Thailand. Me 10 years ago, I would never have bought this because it was like, oh, this doesn't fit. And now I'm like, like I love this. I'm gonna like I recently bought as a kid, I loved The Last Unicorn. I don't know if you've seen that movie, but it was a movie that like changed me forever.
Yes, love The
And
Last
so as an
Unicorn.
adult, like I went to it's an amazing movie. I love that movie. It's also kind of like anime-esque in the way that it's drawn. And I was at a market where it had like a bunch of old stuff and there was this brass unicorn. And I'm not like a tchotchke kind of person. Like I really want if I'm gonna buy something and put it in my home, like I want it to have some significance. And for me, I was like waffling on this brass unicorn that I saw, and I was like, "Oh, like, I don't know, it's just gonna collect dust." And my boyfriend was like, "Just get it. Like, you never buy anything for yourself. Just do this." And in a way, it was a way for me to honor like 5-year-old Geo in this way that was like who cares? And it's honestly cool, like the structure of it. It's like very like medieval unicorn. Like the opening scene where there's like the tapestry and the painting with the unicorns and like they're like a very old medieval
Mhm.
painting. It was very that, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm gonna buy it. And I see it every day. It's in my living room, and it brings me joy. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna do these things. When it comes to you, like with the anime, like how have you found or the manga? How has that kind of like reignited parts of you that you've maybe like tucked away for a little bit?
Wow. I mean, and tucked away, I really did. Actually, that's kind of funny. In lots of ways, I've tucked a lot of things away, but the manga specifically, they it was something for me that I but I want but I was so obsessed with when I was a kid and when I was in my teenage years, and then when I went
Mhm.
to college, I didn't bring any manga with me. I was like, "I can't let anyone know that this is what I am into. This
Mhm.
is what I've, spent years working on." At the
Mhm.
time, I had only collected around like 200 volumes of manga, but that was, when I was just a teenager. And when I went to college, I was like, I need to be focused on musical theater studies because I was so behind, I felt like, and I didn't have the training or the knowledge of musical theater in the way that the people that I went to school with did. And so I was like, I really want to focus on this and this only. I can't let manga get in the way, and I can't let people know that I was into it because it would, yeah, I would be a nerd. When I was growing up, manga and anime like wasn't super cool, and so I was like, I
Yeah.
really tried to hide it. And it wasn't really until I was like 25, 24-ish when I brought my collection from home up to Chicago with me, and then the pandemic hit, and I was like, I this is what's bringing me joy right now, is to, like, sit down and read these and to draw these, and, like, because I love drawing as well. Like, I used to draw manga all the time. I still am, like, always sketching and trying to, like, work out a story, you know? I'm just lazy, so I don't ever, like, finish anything. But, there's always, like, that spark, that manga had created in me is always there. And so, then I started like really investing in my collection because I was like, well, this is happiness for me. And like maybe it's happiness for 9-year-old me who
Yeah.
bought that volume of Inuyasha and Card Captors that day at Walton Books. That part of me still lives on. And it has like, I mean, it inspires me to no end. Moves from that I see in the manga fight scenes, I incorporate in my dance routines. Like it's like really serious. Like it
Yes.
sparks something in me that I can't really even kind of like talk about in a serious way. It's just like it's so cool to me to be able to create this world and have people like really resonate with it. And that's something that I want to do. And I still have dreams of doing it, like in my own capacity. And I absolutely will. It inspires me to no end. I
Mhm.
mean, looks I want to do, like I said, dance moves I want to do, songs I want to do from anime openings and endings, or, like there's so much in it that is so rich and so cool. And yeah, I'm just so happy that I'm reinvested in it and I'm able to share it with others because, like, that was the one thing that I always felt like I was missing was because I am such a serious collector, people who like manga and anime usually like it at a lesser capacity than I do. And so being able to kind of work my YouTube
Uh-huh.
channel and get people who are kind of freaks in that way to look at it and be like, "Oh, like, I recognize myself in that, and I know that obscure title you're talking about."
Yeah.
Like, reaching out to people like that has been super, super cool, because it's like, "Oh, there is community to be found, even at my big age, even
Yes.
at, like, just, like, being the most random hobby I can find," Like, there's people out there who want to see it and who can resonate with it still. And I never had that, so it's cool to be able to, like, get that
Mhm.
now.
That's why, going back to what you said earlier, but like, oh, like, how does it feel to like film content that no one's gonna watch? Like when people say shit like that, it's the community piece. Like, as to me, I would rather have 100 followers who like really love what I do, especially through this, who listen, who connect with what I'm doing, connect with the stories of the people that I'm talking to. Like that, when I hear feedback of, and then I see them following the people that I interviewed, or that's why I'm doing this. There's a reason to That's what
Yeah.
makes me want to keep doing this. And like I'm not making any money at this yet, like I'm in the early stages, but to me that's the thing that like I'm connecting people to others. That has always been my MO in real life. And that is why I keep doing it. And for you, it's the same thing where it's like, yeah, sure, maybe you don't have 100,000 followers, but at the same time, there's a niche community out there who's going to connect with what you're doing. And specifically because it's being said in your voice and you're speaking from your perspective, that's the thing that's going to connect you. That's why you're here. That's why I reached out to you in the first place. I was like, I really love what this human is doing and I want to talk to them in person. Well, over the internet, but we've talked about drag, we've talked about cabaret, we've talked about acting, we talked about manga, ballet. In today's world, we've mentioned this. A lot of times we look at creatives and it's like pick a lane. For you, because you haven't done that, you're like, okay, here's all sides of me, here are all these different aspects of myself. Like, how do you politely ignore that advice without like screaming into the void where you're like, I'm just going to do this thing that is inherently against what we're told, where it's like, just pick something, be really good at it, and go for it.
Sometimes it does take screaming into the void. Like sometimes it takes screaming it that like I'm not gonna do that. And I am gonna do whatever I want because there will be naysayers. I mean, as an actor, like there is still so much that I want to achieve as an actor. There's so much I want to do. And there are so many people who, either who I'm auditioning for or who are fellow actors that I know from the community that are like, you need to take more time to like away from drag, like stop doing so much drag and really kind of focus on your craft as an actor. And it's like, no, like I can be a great actor and also do drag and be a great drag queen. Like they don't have to be mutually exclusive. You don't get to tell me that,
Mhm,
because a lot of it too is like, especially in Chicago, there's a big non-equity theater scene where basically the non-equity theater scene is like you can have a day job and then we all will rehearse after work from like 6 p.m. to 10:30, 11 p.m. And like for me, those hours don't work because my day job is
mhm,
a night job from 9:30
mhm,
to 1, 2 a.m., And so it's like I don't get a lot of opportunities in that field because of my time restrictions. And what I always am like, there will be a project where it will all work out and it will be the right project for me because at
100.
this moment in time I'm dedicated to being a drag queen who pays her bills this way, and I'm also dedicated to working in a show or a film or a TV show that works with those hours, and it's like there will be that project and I'm not worried about it because it will happen to me because I love what
Mhm,
I do, and I don't have to pick one over the other. Maybe for a short period of time. Like I've done a couple of tours, but I did one where we took our show from Chicago to Atlanta for a month. And I had to be like, hey, I'm not going to be available for work for this month at Roscoe's, but you have a plethora of queens you can pull from. If there's any way they can fill in for me, that'd be great. And I'll come right back on this date, And it's like being able to make both work is something that I am all here for. Like that's my MO is to be able to make all of my things work. When I have Go tournaments on the weekends, baby, I'm taking off, because that Go tournament is important to me. And like, could I be
mhm,
at work making money? Yes, but I
mhm.
also wouldn't be able to refill my soul juice in that way that I am able to do at a Go tournament where I'm
Yeah,
having a lot of fun and I am feeding myself. And it's all about that balance. I mean, a lot of it is budgeting, which I hate to do because I think we should just live fast, die young. I like let's just go out there and have
yeah,
fun.
I feel the same.
But a lot of it is figuring out like what you can spend, where you can cut corners, when you do need to go to work, and when you can take a moment to be like, you know what, let's go have a little fun. I'm going to take a little time off because
Mhm,
again, once it starts to feel like work, I don't want to do it. And so like when I'm able to have that out of work fun, the work doesn't feel as worky. Because it's like, oh well, I could take off. Me and my drag daughters went to New York last month and we were just there for a whole week and I took off of like one or two gigs and was like, we get to have fun. And not when I go back to work, it'll be so that I can have more fun. And being able to find that balance is like super important to me. So I will never say that I can't do it all. I'm in the process right now of like writing songs so I can record a new EP. And I'm like, that is always going to happen for me because I want it to. And I think like willing it into existence hard enough sometimes just gets it done. And it's important to do all the
it
things you want
does.
to do because life is too short to not do all of the things that you want to do. Like you just have to make it happen. So
Mhm.
I'm here for it.
The magic that you said, that whimsy, that's a real thing. I don't care what anyone says. That is very much available to anybody who actually can tune into it and see it and say, I can actually like I said, game the system in a way that makes sense for me. And that is like on the money. Like such a perfect way to like pin this conversation, like truly, is like just stick to it. And I have one last question I want to ask you because it'll tie everything together. And so, like, you talked about your roots, you talked about bringing back your passions from when you were younger into who you are now at the age of 30. So, like, for if you had any advice, not that this is an advice podcast, but I just want to know, like, if you had any advice for anybody who is an artist, and like, what would you say is like what happens when artists don't necessarily return to themselves and return to their creative roots as adults? Like, how do you see that being? What's the outcome?
As an artist, it can only benefit you to continue to feed your soul in any way possible, you know? And I think that everything that you have done and are interested in only makes whatever art that you make even more powerful. It can never be a detriment to you to have more tools in your toolbox. So, always being prepared. I mean, with all of that knowledge that you have gained and all of those things that you have enjoyed, that is going to come back. You know, I just watched a video today about how James Cameron, the director to the stars, you know, Avatar, Titanic, you know, he was able to create Titanic because he just liked marine biology. Like, you know, like he just liked water and he liked the science of
Yeah.
it. And then that informed his work for forever, you know? He was a painter, so he made sketches of what the Avatar people should look like while he was doing Titanic. And that movie didn't come out until much, much later, you know? It's like that stuff that he was interested in as a kid never stopped influencing his work, even though that stuff isn't necessarily his work, you know? And that kind of reminded me like, oh yeah, like that is kind of how I live, where like all of those things that I've enjoyed when I was growing up that I thought I could never do or that I just stopped doing or stopped caring about for a certain amount of time, it will never not help me. When I first started doing drag, I was like, I don't know what I'm doing makeup wise, but I did take that makeup class in college for theater. And now I'm going to try to use that. All of those things really come back to like
Mhm.
help you. And it can never hurt you to remember all of those awesome things that you have picked up along the way. They will always enrich your art. Always.
This conversation is coming into my life at like the perfect time where it's like I've said before, like I'm really going through this like let's say evolution of who and how I want to be. And so this conversation of just the like, early days to now is really like resonating with me. So it's like this conversation couldn't have come at a better time. And like I thank you so much for coming on and being part of the show. Like it really means the world to me.
No, thank you so much for having me. Seriously. I mean, any excuse to talk about very long-windedly about anything, I will do. But I really appreciate the platform. You know, I don't get to do a deep dive on myself very often, you know. And so, you know, being able to share that is really cool. And I hope somebody takes something from it, you know. That's all I can hope. And if you want to talk about anime
Totally.
or manga, anybody hit me up. You know, I'm here. I love like I've already said, you know, I want to reach a new audience. I'm always trying to reach a new audience. And I appreciate the chance to do that here.
Oh, please. You're doing me a solid. Honestly, like this is I've been like I said, I've been following you for 5 years, and I'm like, when you said yes, I was like, oh, like you know what I mean? Like the other thing of like just going for it and just like not being afraid. I'm just gonna reach out to people and like see if they'll say yes. And I always just get my heart warmed when somebody I admire, especially in like a creative industry, is like doing their thing and like living authentically as themselves and just doing what they want. And so I'm so thankful. But before I let you go, I have a couple more questions. So I ask this to every one of my guests. I work in branding. This is my world. And we've talked a lot of things about who you are as a creative, as an individual. So, like in your own words, what would you say is the most on brand thing about you?
Oh, the most on brand thing about me. Oh, wait, can you give me an example? What was your on brand thing today?
So my on brand thing was like binging Sailor Moon just to make me not want to like, jump off a cliff, but in so many ways.
That is beautiful. That is beautiful. I think what is on brand for me today, what's on brand with this conversation even, is revisiting the old texts. And I mean that in every way possible. Sometimes you got to revisit those old text messages. I am currently rereading an old series that I love so much and that really inspired me. It's called Claymore, and I just started rereading it the other day, and I was just filled with all of these like incredible emotions and incredible inspiration to write, and I was like, "Oh my god, like I needed this right now." Because I feel like I've been in such a slump, and I'm like, I needed to get this like quick inspo from this thing and it really takes that revisiting the old text sometimes will revitalize you. And that's what it's all about.
Mhm. Yeah. Thank you so much. Like I said, I really appreciate you coming on. And to anyone listening, where can they find you online? Where can they get to your YouTube channel? Like, where can they connect with Ari Gato?
Yes. Well, you can find me online on Instagram at the underscore Ari underscore Gato. That's THE underscore ARI underscore GATO. You can also find me on YouTube and on Instagram at Drag Manga Collector, where I share a bunch of posts about manga, and on YouTube I talk about manga and my manga collection specifically. So go ahead and find me there. We're having a lot of fun. I've been on a short hiatus, but we're coming back in the new year, which is super exciting. So by the time you see this, I'll have a new video up, and you'll want to go watch it because it's me and it's fun, and you'll like it. Other than that, you can find me on TikTok at the underscore Ari underscore Gato, but I never post on TikTok, but I'm trying to get more into it. TikTok is so important. And I'm just so boomer that I can't figure it out yet, but we're getting there. We're getting there.
Yeah, you and me both, honestly. And to anyone listening who wants to connect with the podcast, you want to hear more conversations like this, please find me on Graphic Content Pod on YouTube. I'm on TikTok also, which is a whole other thing. Instagram, you can send an email to graphiccontentpod@gmail.com. And Arigato, I want to thank you once again for being part of the show, and we'll talk soon. Bye.
Yes, talk to you soon. Thank you for having me.